Welcome everybody to the After Dark Show. I'm Don Rogers. Tonight's guests, you've actually seen both of them on my show individually, and they've actually become very close friends of mine over the last several months to a year. They host a podcast called the Metaphysical Phat podcast, and Kirsten Mustaine is a yoga teacher and an energy worker, and of course one half of the Metaphysical Phat podcast, and just an absolutely fascinating person to talk about. And if you ever want to do alpaca yoga, I know a person, because it just looks like fun as hell. And I'm so happy to have her back on the show, because it's always a very, very interesting conversation. And I just thought this would be an amazing fit, because we are coming up to the end of the year, and I like to have some really good shows in case you guys want to go back and watch them again. And I could think of, two really good guests to put together. Well, they're already a very good tandem on their podcast. So it's Kirsten and Sam of the Metaphysical Phat podcast. And I'm kind of tripping over my words here, because I'm just really excited to get going on this. So I'm going to bring Kirsten on. Kirsten, thank you so much for coming on. I'm sorry my intro was kind of short there, but I've just been looking forward to this, because like you, me, and Sam and the rest all have very deep conversations in the background. And I love when we get to have them on the air, because you never know what the hell we're going to say, right? And especially with your cohort, who is the other half of the Metaphysical Phat podcast, is Samantha Consciously. And she is going for her shaman training right now. She is also an energy worker and the other half of your dynamic duo. Sam, thank you for joining us as well.
Hey, thank you for the introduction. Yeah, you never know it's going to come out my fucking mouth, that's for sure.
Oh, if you could have heard the conversation that was taking place, that's why we're a couple of minutes late starting, because I had to stop laughing at what we were talking about, because I'm very immature for somebody who speaks so well. I'm just going to be completely honest. So, if there's a funny giggle in my head, I'm sorry. But so I guess where I'm going to start, I'm just trying to catch up where I am on my notes. Oh, Jesus. And my interdimensional exit buddy is not helping with the giggling, because, beardless boob Don, you had to go there.
Beardless,
It turns out Sam and I are very, very similar in our pasts and our behavior models and things that we've experienced. And I often refer to Kyla as my best friend. His name is Scott. I call her Beardless Boob Scott, because she's my female best friend. And we've come to the realization that Sam and I are very much alike. So she has now been dubbed Beardless Boob Dawn. So that's where that joke kind of arises from.
I want to be beardless boob Don the pirate though. Can I get an eye patch?
Oh,
I think that'd be great. I'll go arr.
That would actually be very, very good, because there was several times when I was a kid, I had pink eye and had to wear a pirate patch, so you would fit right in.
I mean, I don't think I've had pink eye. I'm all right. I've never picked my ass and wiped my eye, but other than that, we're quite similar.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I know it has something to do with nastiness and getting in your eyes, but there's that old adage, I'm gonna fart on your pillow and give you pink eye. I don't know if that actually works, but I remember getting threatened that at camp. That was one of the things.
I reckon if somebody had an exception, I mean, sorry, I'll finish this and then we'll get back to the topic, because we're going to back up me a bit. I reckon if you had an exceptionally wet Trump, because we call them Trumps in the UK, which is ironic, really, isn't it? Cool farts, Trumps. Then yeah, I reckon a bit of fecal matter could get in one's eye. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And I know we're kind of joking around, but my mom caught C. difficile in the most bizarre way. She touched a doorknob at a place she worked, and they there were several people that got it, so they tested the plant. And I was like, holy crap, I know everybody's like, oh, wash your hands, don't touch it. And this is like long before everybody went total 2020 germaphobe. This is like when I was 20, right? She ended up catching C. difficile from a doorknob. So you really can get some nasty stuff from other people being gross.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, leading on though from that, you think about parasites, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
This is the thing, you can pick them up from anywhere.
That's actually a big one that's personal in my life right now. It's like the next step of like what's going on in my body, because we're on this healing journey and I'm trying to make everything better. As everybody knows, I'm working on my teeth. Look, I can actually smile, and Lee, see, I don't have my hand in front of my mouth. That's a terrible habit I've gotten, and it's a subconscious thing because I up until a couple of weeks ago had broken teeth right here, and I don't anymore, so I can actually smile like a human being. Right. Yeah, that was the next thing, is we're going to be doing parasite cleanses and all of that wonderful stuff. But we can get into that health aspect stuff because both of you are very apt at that as well. But I want to start off with Kirsten. And do you want to explain like where you and Sam actually first met and how you connected and what that scenario kind of went like? Because like you guys live on opposite sides of the world. And I know this wonderful thing called the internet connects us all at real time, but how did you guys finally like meet up?
We met up on Twitter when it was still called Twitter. And it was interesting because we followed each other and we kind of chatted with each other for quite some time. But immediately, and you know, she was Penny Consciously back then when I first met her. That was her Twitter name. And the first time I saw one of her posts, I was just like, I love this woman. I love her. It was just out of the blue. And it was like some, you know, I think it was a fart joke or something. And that would normally be like, but I was like, no, I don't know. I don't remember what the post was, but I loved it.
Probably a funny joke, yeah.
Yeah, it was some kind of, I'm sure. And,
so if those that know it was funny, it's a vagina. Go on, sorry.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Thank you for explaining that, Sam. No, and you know, I don't generally just love people because they make jokes like that. But I adored her the first time I saw one of her posts. And we just kept chatting back and forth. And I finally decided to send her a DM, which is really unusual for me. I don't normally DM people. I mean, now that we have the podcast, I do, to ask them to be on the show. But in general, that wasn't something I did. But I did send her a DM, and we started chatting, and we started sending voice messages. And I don't think a day has gone by since then that we have not at least messaged each other.
No.
It was just an instant like, oh, I love this woman and I have to talk to her. And yeah, so it was kind of inexplicable. I mean, it wasn't inexplicable. I mean, we've explained it, but I think it was just one of those things. I just felt the energy so deeply. And I was just like, yeah, this is somebody I really need to connect with. And lo and behold, here we are.
And Sam, what was your side of that? Like, what was the interaction? Like, of course, you were the one who made the post and then went from there. And before you answer, I just want to say, like, I know a lot of people talk about the evils of the internet and stuff, but when you find really, truly wonderful friendships and partnerships and kindred spirits, that's how I met my wife. Right? I will never shit the internet. We met on Facebook. Okay. Literally, we met on Facebook on a singles and mingles group, and that's how I met Kyla. Right. It really can be a useful tool. And like, as I've said before on the show, like Steven's the best friend I have that I've never met in real life. Right. Like him and I are just that kindred click, like it just like boom. And that's the same thing I see in you two. So Sam, what was it like on your end to like all of a sudden be like having this friendship with somebody on the other side of the world that you had never met?
Well, I mean, there's a few things there. I mean, when it happened, I know it sounds a bit strange to say organically on an inorganic platform, but it was. This is the thing. When you look at what the internet is, so I'm going to go on a bit of a rant now. It's an inorganic, dimensional collective consciousness that holds it, a container. It's almost like a dimension all in its own, but it's almost like the AI dimension. But that's a topic for a bit later on. So yeah, so obviously you're meeting people because energy is non-local, time is non-local. There's, you know, we can have this conversation now, and it's just we can physically see it, we can broadcast it out within a physical, tangible way. But you're connecting with people energetically, and I do feel like Things, you know, the connections that people have transcend what we can see in our limited light spectrum. So it kind of goes back to like past lives, soul contracts, that kind of a thing. And I think with all of us in our little collective friendship group, we've all had lives before together. I'm going to say before, but really they're all happening at the same time because we're all kind of linked. So there's this kind of resonance that you feel with somebody. Now, there's lots of different reasons that could be, because like, if you've got a karmic contract with somebody that you need to resolve, you can have a really, really intense resonance with them. You're like, oh my God, you know, I must date you or be your friend or lick your face or whatever you want to do. You know, you've got this really strong pull. And it's almost like compulsive, but it's because you've got stuff to work out. And then you tend to find that fizzles out because it'll start kind of like really, really intense, and then it'll burn bright. You'll learn your lessons, you'll get your fingers burned, you'll make friends or whatever lessons you've got to come out of it, and then you'll move on. But like when we've got this kind of slow resonance with people, you might not always recognize them at first. There's kind of something there, you know, but then you've got to look at divine timing and alignment, which is another aspect of like meeting your soul group, you know. It's this interwoven thread that we're all in. It's like this huge big tapestry that we're all weaving. And it was just divine alignment, wasn't it, Kirsten? We'd got chatting, it was like I'd known you forever, we giggled, we had kind of like past life memories almost, because that's what you'll find as well. You'll get people, you'll connect, and then stuff will just happen. You'll get the memories, you'll have the weird coincidences, really fucking strange shit will happen, you know? It just does. And that combination of energies, you know, when you have more than one energy together, especially when you're in that resonance, you're feeding each other. So rather than just being, it's like greater than the sum of its individual parts, essentially. And this is what we've all kind of come here to do, to build this momentum and kind of, I am going to say, fulfill our obligations and our contracts, but it's more than that. It's like a divine purpose almost, isn't it?
Yes.
I absolutely agree with that. And like you kind of touched on it there too. We all watch each other's shows, we watch each other's channels, we support each other in that aspect because we're all very good friends. And I don't know about you guys, but quite often Kyla and I will find ourselves, because there is that 3-second delay. And I think this is where that collective conscious comes in, is we'll be sitting there watching your guys' show or watching Stephen or Diana or whoever, and we'll say exactly what the host or the guest will say. And it comes out that at the same time, because we know how StreamYard works, there's 3 seconds, right? So when you're saying it, the person who actually said it is saying it, and you're saying it at the exact same time. And it's like, when you start to realize how closely connected we are to the people that we resonate with, even if they are across the world, it starts to make you question whether or not technology is just a piss poor excuse for what we can do naturally.
I think that's the truth. I think that's exactly what technology is. Honestly. Yeah. So, and you know, Sam and I have that all the time. She'll say something and it'll be like, oh, that's just what I was going to say. Or, you know, we'll both think the same thing. I mean, it happens constantly. It's not even weird anymore. It's just like, well, of course, that's what happened.
Well, we're all saying the same. But I love that, John, what you were saying. Absolutely, and I agree with you, Kirsten. It's like the training wheels for humanity to remember telepathy. Now, I'm at a point in my life where I don't even need to go, is telepathy real? Do you know what I mean? It is. It's absolutely real. I've had actual telepathy. Don't get me wrong. I can't go to the supermarket and like listen to cashier's head. Could feel into her energy. I won't, you know, boundaries. But I've had instances with my daughter, and I've said it before, like that time when she was like, I've said it on the parenting channel. She came downstairs and I'd said something to her that she didn't like, and she'd gone, oh, you fat bitch, in there, or something like that. Fuck off, you fat bitch. And I was like, did you call me a fat bitch? She went, yeah, but I didn't say it. It was in my head. Even spiritual people have daughters that, you know, Teenagers. So yeah, but that's the thing.
That is really cool because there's a lot of that going on in our house too. And I've said it on the show before. Kyla, William, and I are now at the point where if we're going out, we're like, okay, we have to actually talk, right? Because like with us, it's the least amount of words possible. And it'll just be like, yeah, okay, but yeah, I know. And then the other one will just look at you and like, there was supposed to be more words there. And it's like, yeah. And that's what I find is going on with people that are doing the healing, that are doing the work, that are coming up to that resonance, that we are getting the abilities back. And like, I'm getting to the point where using my phone feels unnatural. It feels like a strange object in my hand. I actually get like almost pins and needles when I have to hold my cell phone now because the current that comes off of it, I don't like it. Right. But I'm actually starting to feel physical rejection towards technology, and it's very strange.
I mean, that's a bit sorry, I am being a bit domineering in the conversation, but just going back to technology thing. So there's a few things I just want to quickly touch on that. So you can get something called an Omnia radiation balancer. Now I don't normally go for the technology stuff. So there's like things like shungite and stuff that help and all that kind of stuff. But they're like stickers. And it's a guy called Ilya, not a guy, is a doctor called Ilya, who invented them. And it's this particle that he found called Deca. And it's like a conscious particle. And what they do is, I don't know how they do it. It's all to do with intention and stuff. And maybe it's snake oil stuff, but it works. So they infuse it into these stickers. And if you put the sticker on your device, it doesn't stop the radiation. What it does is it harmonizes the frequency, because the electronic frequency apparently is kind of like dirty compared to the body. I'm saying dirty, but it's just not in the same resonance, basically. So what it does is it brings it into balance with the human field, and it creates kind of like a sympathetic coherence. So it's all to do with like the quantum field and stuff, isn't it? And like when we talk about coherence, it's just being in alignment, isn't it? So it basically brings it into alignment with the human energy field, and it becomes more healing. And they've done like stuff like muscle testing and all sorts of stuff on their website. I'm not affiliated by them, by the way. They're not paying me to do this. They are quite expensive, but you only need to buy one for each device, and you stick it on. And like, I've actually had the difference. So I've had a phone that's been really hot and irritating, and like, you know, when I used to be a community nurse, we had to have loads of technology, and I used to put them all on there as well. We've got these brand new laptops, and oh my God, they were like some sort of radiation boxes. I couldn't even deal with them. Put one of those stickers on. I mean, you can tell as well, because it takes a little while for it to acclimatize, but I think it's just emerging with the field. And it just brings it back into balance. And you notice things like the batteries don't get as hot. You don't, because I was getting little headaches and stuff as well. I know you're a bit like that, aren't you, Kirsten? You're not so good with technology either, are you? You're quite sensitive to it. I think the more sensitive we get, you know, the more we start to pick up on this. Whereas people that are not as, I'm going to say, energetically in tune, they might feel a bit off, but they don't know why. Or they might be like, oh, I feel really poorly. It's like, well, you sat bathed in Wi-Fi radiation, you plunker. Do you know what I mean? Which the thing is, though, we're living in a fog. I've got a 5G tower not far from my house. I didn't realise it was there when I moved here, and I'm kind of stuck at the moment. So I have to just do what I can to transmute it. But it does affect us. It affects us on the biological level, and it affects us on an energetic level. And also, they can transport. They can put things into our fields. I mean, it's a huge, big topic. I could talk about this for hours, so I'll stop.
Oh yeah, we could do an entire show on cell phones and some of the stuff we know, but we'll try to stick to the podcast a little bit here, I guess. I know we're wrapping up the season and it's kind of willy-nilly, but Kirsten, how did the podcast itself come about? Like, where did you guys were you just guys back and forth on X still, or did you guys actually started talking at that point, or what led to the podcast itself?
I had wanted to do a podcast for a long time, and it just had never happened. And Sam started sending me these messages, and you're familiar with Sam's waffles. Sam has the best waffles, right? So she would send me these 30-minute waffles. And I was like, Sam, you need this could be a podcast. The stuff that you're saying. And So then I was like, I was saying, Sam, let's do a podcast. And she was like, no, I don't want to do a podcast. I don't want to get on camera. I'm not going to do that. Finally, she said, well, let's do some spaces on it, on Twit, on X. And so I said, okay, let's do some spaces. So we started out and we'd say, we're going to chew the fat. And then we were like, well, let's say we're going to chew the metaphysical fat, because that's what we usually talk about, metaphysical stuff. So we started saying, we're going to chew the metaphysical fat. And I spelled it with a PH because I like the PH in metaphysical, and I thought that would be funny. But anyway, so we started doing that. Well, I got banned from doing spaces on Twitter. I'm not sure why, but I got banned. And I was like, and so I couldn't do spaces anymore. And Sam said, okay, I guess that means we're going to have to do a podcast. And I kept telling her, Sam, you're a natural. You're going to be marvelous doing podcasts. And of course, she is, as you know. But yeah, I'm afraid I dragged her a little bit. But
well,
I think I did. I think I gave the whole world a gift when I dragged Sam into doing podcasts, honestly.
Oh, but I mean, we'll get you everywhere.
Oh, everybody loves your waffles. You could have your own brand of syrup, Sam. Like, honestly, like, completely honest.
I could make that dirty. I'm not going to lie. A bit of Sam syrup, but you. Well.
There's Kyla. She actually tried to fire her ex. They won't let her back on. So I don't know what the hell she did, but like when we were all over on X, she was trying to get back on, and they would not reactivate her account. Like, I don't know if she pissed off.
Oh my god!
Yeah, they won't even let her.
Divine timing, though. That's what I'm going to say.
No, yeah. And I absolutely love the partnership between you guys and how it's come into this really cool friendship. Like, I don't know how long you guys have known each other, but like you said, it seems like you've known each other your entire lives, because like the back and forth, and like I've been on your show as well, and the conversation, the fluidity in which you guys understand and communicate is just, it's the way family is supposed to be. Except I think we're finding our real family, and it has nothing to do with biologics.
Absolutely.
I agree. And we have known each other for many lifetimes. And the first time we talked to each other on the phone, I hung up. It was really interesting because I hung up the phone and I just kind of closed my eyes and I saw us. I saw Sam and me, and our skin was blue. Laverne and Shirley. Shamil, Shalazel. I don't know. Anyway, and I saw Sam and me, and our skin was.
I'll be Shirley, whoever she is. I'm not Shirley. Go on, sorry.
All right, you be Shirley, I'll be Laverne. It's cool.
Apparently.
And yeah, I saw us, and our skin was blue, and we were like teenagers, and we were driving a hovercraft. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to tell Sam this. So I don't know what that was, but it is a connection that we've had for many lifetimes. So even though it's been, what, a year and a half since we started chatting. We really started talking a year ago in August, but we had been kind of having a back and forth before that, but it really intensified a year ago in August. So it's been, what is that, a year and several months since we really deepened our friendship and really started. So
it feels like years, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
It honestly feels like I've known this entire group for years, to be quite frank. But before we get too far from that, I have a random question for you, Kirsten. What shape was your head when you were blue? Like, was it larger and bulbous, or like humanoid?
It was humanoid. It may have been larger. It was humanoid. And we had like wildly colored hair, like purple and red. Our hair was like kind of purple and red. And we were just, we looked pretty much like humans, but the coloring was completely different. And we had these white fur collars, and there were mountains below us. We were flying over mountains. So
That's cool. I only ask because I've been to a couple of existences with blue people, and just asking. Didn't know if you saw anybody I know.
What shape were their heads, Don?
Kind of larger than ours and curved up like a little bit bigger, like as if kind of like that. And their heads were a little more elongated and rounded on top with no hair.
Interesting.
I'm like 90% sure that's what most people call a Arcturian, and it was before I knew what an Arcturian was that I saw this. So it
sounds Arcturian. It does. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's quite a predominant amount of races, isn't there, with blue skin? From what
I think so.
Yeah.
Kirsten, how did you progress into your understanding of energy work? Like, did it come from yoga and kind of segue into that? Or like, when did you start to go into energy work? And I just want to say, we're going to get into this because I've had a session with Sam and Kirsten for some of my own physical ailments, and we'll discuss that later. That's what I'm leading into, is like, what got you into looking into energy work?
Well, so I had been doing it for a long time without really being aware of it. And I know Kyla is similar. I've talked to Kyla about this, in fact. And I knew that it was a thing. But what happened was I was having my own healing crisis it's been over 10 years ago now. And a person that I know just called me up out of the blue and said, I want to do this Reiki workshop, and you're the only person I know who might do it with me because you're more open-minded than anybody else. She was like, I don't know anybody else who would actually go to something like this with me. Would you go with me? And I said, sure. And I had been interested in Reiki, and I had actually considered doing it. And I was doing energy work without Reiki already. But so I went and I did the first one, and it was amazing. And I was like, okay, I've got to pursue this. So I went ahead and did the Reiki 2, and then I did the Master Reiki. But that was really kind of a jumping off point. It wasn't really the whole thing. You know, the Reiki is really good. And I would suggest if people want to start doing energy work, they should do the Reiki. And I do Reiki attunements. If you ever want a Reiki attunement, I do them too. But that's a good jumping off point. It's not, but since Sam and I have started working more together, we've actually been attuned to a whole different level. The angel fire Reiki, which isn't really Reiki. So it was a jumping off point. So that's kind of where I came at it from.
And it's interesting you say that, because I've had a lot of energy workers on the show, and that is quite a common thing, is like you take something like Reiki and that's the basis for creating your own structure, right? Like when Kyla first did hers, she would go through this thing and then help me with my gas. And now it's like, I have a stomach ache, and she's just like, boom, and it's on, right? She doesn't have to, she's developed into her own thing. And Sam, that's where I wanted to go with you, is like, I don't know if you took Reiki, but I know you're also in a shamanic course right now. So I don't know where you want to go with that first. Like if you've taken an actual energy modality, or if the shamanic thing is the first thing you've actually taken. That's.
So I did, when I was going through call it my proper awakening, about 2019, I'd started to just come out of the dark night of the soul. And I noticed that my hands were getting really hot. And I was aware of energy work and stuff. And I'd been to like groups and stuff for years, where people had done like spiritual energy healing on me. And they'd showed me how to do it, but not with any great, I'd not developed it properly. I'd gone to this group and we practiced on each other. And they called it like spiritual healing. So it was kind of like through the spiritualist church method, really, where you're connecting with spirit, which is a bit strange because it's a bit open-ended, and I'm not quite sure I agree with it anymore. But that's a different topic. So I'd always kind of been aware, and then I did Reiki 1 in 2020. But obviously it was the COVID, wasn't it? So you couldn't really go out and practice on anybody, and I kind of shelved it. But when I had my Reiki attunement, it was like, holy shit balls, what the fuck is going on here? So I was staying in a hotel because it was over 2 days. So we went and had the attunement, and then I went home, went to this hotel thing. And my whole body was on fire, and I could feel all this stuff going on, and I could feel my energy body expanding, and my hands are red up. I was having all these flashes of information and downloads, and it was just like, holy shit, what's going on? Completely not expecting that at all. It like it popped a seal. And then I just kind of shelved it. But I think when you were tuned anyway, you're a channel. That's what energy workers are. They're a channel. And like when you go into the shamanic healing, it's what you call the hollow bone. So you become the bone. So you're the container, and you're not actually putting your own spin on the energy. The energy is just coming through you. So it's egoless in a way, depending on what you're doing. When you're doing things like psychic surgery, which is a completely different thing, obviously you need to be aware of what you're looking at. And this is where knowing your own energy comes in. So when you do practices like meditation, I know Don, you've done this kind of stuff as well, aren't you? And Kirsten's the same. When you feel into your energy body, you start to understand the architecture. And I call it architecture because that's what it is. It's like this really intricate network of different levels and lattices and layers of energy body. And then that's interconnected with consciousness. So we think about what our consciousness actually is. It's just one thing. Oh, it's our laser focus thingy. But everything has got spirit or consciousness, and that's kind of what we're taught in the shamanic tradition. So if you feel into the consciousness of your heart, for instance, and then you can go further and feel into the consciousness of individual cells even, and that's you start to feel that, and then the flows of energy and the tubes and things that go through you. So as you become more attuned to your own energy body, you then start to feel what is you and what is other people, and then you can merge with them, and you can start to pick up things either psychically or whatever. We could have clairvoyance, clairaudience, whatever. You can hear things depending on what team you're working with as well, because you never just do this on your own, because you've got a full team with, don't we, Kirsten? Which is another thing we've been with the angel fire and the angel water. You start to be able to perceive the consciousness and the energy flow in another body, and then you're getting information from the people that the beings that you're working with, or your higher self, or whatever you're working with, and it all kind of comes together in a hodgepodge, and it's that kind of learning to decipher all that. And then obviously when you're going into people's bodies, you can see where there's like energetic blockages, entity attachments, even possession stuff, all this kind of stuff. So essentially it's just awareness of what's going on. I mean, even disease has its own consciousness. You can feel it into the consciousness of the disease. You can feel into the consciousness of your own disease. So if anybody's wanting to heal themselves at home, bit of a practice for you. You can get into kind of a meditative state. Take a couple of deep breaths. Feel, I don't know, for instance, I've got this lump on my nose that I'm healing. Feel into it. Feel what it's showing you, and then move your body as the consciousness of the disease. And what it will do is it will start to entrain you with that. And the thing that's the most healing is presence. So if you can be completely present with it, which you're going to do if you're becoming the consciousness of it, you're kind of merging with it, and it will start to tell you what it wants, or you will perceive why it's there, or if it's a block, or if it feels stuck, or you might have a traumatic memory or something that comes up, or it might just release because it's been seen. There's lots of different things, it's all different. But there's all different ways that you can approach healing. And it's just so vast and varied. And this is why there's so many different modalities, like kinesiology and all that kind of stuff. It's just what it comes down to is being able to feel the body, to perceive the body, to see how everything's moving, basically. And it's just a skill that you build. Sorry, that was a bit of a waffle.
No, I love it. And like Kyla would say, get the syrup. And Lee actually asked a question, and I'm assuming he's talking about source, so it's true connection. Like you were saying, like you're streaming directly from source is like it's
source is a bit of everything's source.
Yeah.
There's layers, isn't there, really? If you think of like universe is like the organelle, isn't it? The source is the consciousness, the supreme consciousness, and everything that we're experiencing is kind of like the body of source. We're kind of like the organs, aren't we? Basically.
Yeah.
So yeah. The thing is, when you're healing, we're in duality consciousness. So disease is separation consciousness, basically. So what you're doing is when you're looking at something in presence, you're getting as close to source consciousness as possible, which is oneness. So it's like dissolving the separation, which brings you back to wholeness, which is healing, basically. You want to be whole, don't you? So there's no broken bits, there's no perceived illusion of separation. And that, so it's right, it's source consciousness, essentially.
That makes a lot of sense. And it goes into working with the energy body, which brings me to Kirsten. When did you start to realize that you had these types of intuitions and were able to work with the energies?
Yoga, you brought up yoga before. When I started doing yoga, that's when I really started getting in touch with that. And I came to yoga, when I came to yoga, I had PTSD. I had been in a really abusive relationship. I'd had all these horrible things happen. And so when I came to yoga, I was really very, I won't say broken precisely, but I was really deeply in need of some healing. And that's when I really started getting in touch with my energy body, because what yoga does is it aligns your body, your physical body, and things start flowing again. And as you align your physical body, you're also aligning your energy body, and you're actually making the body so that the energy body, the subtle energy body, is able to really flow the way that it's meant to. So when I started doing yoga, I started really feeling it. And I knew it was there before, but yoga was the first thing that enabled me to start really feeling it and start sitting in presence, because I had, and meditation, of course, too. And I actually started meditating before I started doing yoga. And I really started getting into it. But I started doing Kriya first. I did Kriya and meditation. I did Yogananda, Paramahansa Yogananda's course in Kriya and meditation. And that kind of got me into the yoga. And that got me into a place where I could really start feeling the energy. And of course, we always feel it. It's not really learning to feel it as much as it is learning to be aware of what you're feeling, because, you always feel it. And if you look back over your life, you can see all these times that you did feel it. You just didn't realize that was what was happening. And so really, just bringing myself into awareness more and more deeply was really what helped me to really start feeling my energy body and noticing how it worked. And so, obviously the asana practice, the Kriya practice, the meditation practice, all of those things helped me to come into presence enough to really start being able to recognize what I was feeling.
I like what you said there too about realizing the energy is there, and like we can all work with it. And I think largely by the society that we live in, we're taught to ignore it, right? Like it's either too much busyness or like just we're taught not to pay attention to the energy that surrounds us. We're taught to just pass through life instead of like observing everything that's going on around us. And it's not until you have those moments where you can truly stop and be silent and go, oh, okay. And yoga is definitely a catalyst for that for a lot of people, as is meditation. Like that's what I love about my job is like I drive alone for upwards of 8 hours a day. And most of the time I don't have the radio on because I just want to think, right? Because this world is so damn busy. You can't think if you're around everybody else or there's technology. The biggest annoyance to me is my phone because it's my GPS and I have to pay attention to her while I'm driving. As you've both heard on messages from me, because she always interrupts me, which I think is done to get loose. I swear to God, there's something to that. Like, I think she interrupts me just to irritate me. But anyway, for the most part, I sit in silence most of my day, and it allows me to just think. And it's a luxury not a lot of people have, is that ability to take 3-4 hours and just think, right? And when you start to think, you start to realize that those energies are around you and things are happening and you can interact with them.
Yeah, it's being conscious of it, isn't it? It's not even, I would say, thinking, because thinking is like a logical mind. It is, but it isn't. It's like you said, it's the awareness of what's going on, because you can drop out of that, can't you? And you'll probably find yourself throughout the day going, "What have I just done for that 40 minutes? Shit, how did I get home?" Do you know what I mean? We're all guilty of it. And when you know what you're saying, it's like rushing in that busyness, isn't it? It's like, oh. When it's like you were saying, especially when we're doing the 9 to 5 job. When I was doing the nursing, I got up with single mum, 2 kids, was working full time. I was like, I need to get home. I need to pick them up from childcare. I need to come home and feed them. Then I need to get a bath. Then we need to do homework. Then I need to read them a bedtime story after they've had the tea. And it was all just like go, 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 go. And they don't want to give you time to breathe. You're right. Because when you start to be able to sit, and this is the thing with meditation. I mean, yoga is meditation for the body, isn't it? Basically, it's all the same sort of stuff. Like you're saying, it brings you into presence. You're basically focusing on what you're doing. Same with breath work, all the same sort of stuff. It's bringing you back into the now, because that's what presence is, and that's where we create from, and that's how you heal yourself, and that's how you manifest. That's how you take control of your life, basically, because it's all about sovereignty, isn't it? And when you can be in the now, and you can be aware of what you're doing, because all there is the now, that's when you start to master your life, because you're in awareness. You can see what's going on. You know, you can see those feelings that are coming up. It's like, oh, I feel a bit jealous about that. Oh, I feel a bit in competition. Oh, I feel really angry. Whatever's coming up. And then you can just sit and go, oh, well, I'm aware of that. I'm aware of what's happening around me. Why? And then you start to ask the questions. And that's when you follow it back, and that's when you have your breakthroughs, and that's when you expand your consciousness.
Yeah.
No,
absolutely.
You just took the words right out of my mouth. Now we're doing it in real time, Kirsten. I don't even have to finish my own sentences. Sam, I guess the same question for you is like, what was it that made you realize that you could physically work with the energies? Sorry, my dogs are being jerks right now, so if you hear,
You're right.
It's the Huskies. I apologize, but everybody knows we have them. What made you realize that you were able to physically work with the energies that were surrounding you and with other people as well?
Trial by fire done. Simple answer. I've always felt energy. I remember being in the bath as like a 5-year-old going, oh, I've got a funny tingling feeling going up my back. That's weird. What can I do if I do this? Oh, it comes out my head. Thought everybody could feel it. Thought it was really normal. I said it to mum. She goes, oh, it's pins and needles. I thought it'd be back. Just accepted it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and then you just think, oh, it's normal. But then we all have these traumatic experiences, and they shut you down, because it's just what the Matrix does. But it's also the life path that we come in. We have all these things that shape us and mold us and put us on a path. Because especially if you're here to do any kind of healing work, or you've got like strong chiron placements in astrology, it's the wounded healer. You essentially come. You have the you have the traumatic experiences, and then you glean the wisdom from it, and you heal it, and then you culminate all that knowledge, and then you repackage it, and you realize how you're going to help other people. And that's kind of the same thing with energy healing. So I had a lot of the chronic fatigue. It took quite a long time. So that was a big thing that I was healing. Essentially, it's an energy issue. I just wasn't having enough energy, or I didn't feel like I had enough energy. I wasn't present. Things can also take your energy. So that was the big one for me. That was it was one of my big healing crises, basically, because I couldn't function. We spoke about this in the last time on the show. There's times that I couldn't even get out of bed. It was really, really bad. And I had to learn to manage my energy and do the healing and release the blocks, the attachments, fix the leaks in my own field. But I'd obviously come along a bit more from that. But I mean, just things like psychic attacks. It's knowing the difference between what's your own shit and what's a psychic attack, which is just trial by fire, you know? So sometimes you're like, we're being psychically attacked. I've got all this stuff going on. It's like, no, you bloody Wally. You're just having a really bad day. You've just got stuff coming up. You're feeling a bit run down. You've not slept properly. You know, it's just your stuff. And then other times it could be an entity that's going, it's like, I've got these really negative thoughts all the time and they're running around my head. And every time I do this, there's this voice in my head going, blah, 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 blah. So that's an entity. But it's knowing the difference, you know? There's somebody whispering in your ear. So it literally is just trial by fire. And then you start to feel other people's energy. When I had my Kundalini awakening, that really was the trial by fire. So I had the Kundalini awakening, and all of a sudden I could feel everybody's sexual energy. And it was like, holy shit, what's going on here? Try being in a room with your dad and you can feel his sexual energy, not towards you, but you just know it's there. And it's like, this is very fucking uncomfortable and I'd rather not be here. So you soon learn how to fucking push it out and not dial into people, you know? But then the thing is, same with the internet. You're on the internet and there's a random guy talking to you and you're like, oh, this guy's got a boner. You just know. Oh, this guy's feeling a bit free. Whatever. Oh, this woman's feeling a bit free. Oh, this woman's got very nice energy. Because it's indiscriminate, you know? You just feel it. And it's just, it isn't like you're being a pervert or whatever. It's just, you just feel the energy. You just know what they're feeling. It's a form of telepathy, isn't it, basically? It's that energetic telepathy. So that was a trial by fire, learning to regulate your own feelings. Almost, because you be like blown open and you become super sensitive. And sometimes you don't even know what's going on, and you don't know if it's you, if it's somebody else. So yeah, it's all kind of practice, I suppose. And then you realise that actually you're pushing your energy out as well. And other people that are sensitive can feel yours, and you're like, ah. So yeah.
Yeah.
You actually touched on something there, and I'd like to get both of your take on this because it's something I actually found myself doing. I literally caught myself. I used to be exactly what you were talking about, where like one thing had happened and then it just keep going because the first one pissed me off. And I always thought I was being attacked or there was something. And then I can't even remember. It might have even been after talking to you. I was like, holy shit, how much of this is me? Right? Because we do project energy. So like that dish that fell out of the cupboard after you already put it back in, that might have been you because you were already pissed off. Right? Because I've done that to myself where it's like, I'll put something and I'm frustrated with this and I put this away. And then of course it falls down and I put it back. And then the thing I was over here, it falls down too. And then it's like, it feels like you're under attack. And then I started to realize it's like, if I calm down, it stops happening. Right. It was literally my psychic energy attacking me. Like it was self-sabotage psychic attack, I guess. I don't really have a terminology for it, but have you guys experienced that, or what do you think that is? I
Let
guess
you go first, Kirsten. So I've chewed your ear off for about half an hour.
Yes, I have experienced that. And in fact, I have trouble with things like I set them on the counter and somehow they fall off, even though they're like, and I particularly have that problem when I'm out of sorts. So I do understand that. And it is. And the thing is, though, even when you're being psychically attacked, it has something to do with your own wounding, because if your field was fully cohesive and you didn't have any of those wounds, it wouldn't be able to get in to attack you. So it can always serve a purpose, even when you are being, but it's different. And the only way I can say that you can really tell the difference is just by feeling it and learning it. And like Sam said, it's a trial by fire. And I know there have been times when I thought I was being psychically attacked and it was just me freaking out. But there are other times when I really was being psychically attacked. And you have to really, but again, like it gets in, and I know Sam is probably going to say something really similar to that, that it gets in through your own wounding. So if you, for instance, have a betrayal wound and you've been betrayed by people, it's very easy for an entity to come in to that wound and suddenly you're like, oh my gosh, I'm being betrayed by these people. And yes, dropping stuff. I'm being betrayed by these people. And maybe you are and maybe you aren't. But the thing is, you get these thoughts. And that's what when she was talking about you getting these thoughts, you know, and when you start having all of these thoughts, you really have to sit with that and say, okay, where's this coming from? Is this just coming from my wounding? Or is this coming from some kind of outside source that's trying to poke my wounding and make me react in a way that's going to cause harm? So that's, and I think you get better and better at it as you deal with it. But it's trial by fire, because it's very hard to teach somebody these things. You can't teach somebody how to feel something in their own field, you know, because that's something that you have to learn. I mean, you can give them tools and guidance, but really you have to be able to sit with your own stuff and say, okay, where is this? And find the origin of it.
Absolutely.
Further on that, what would you suggest people do or say when they do realize that there really is a voice or psychic attack going on? Like, I know with us in the house, we've just basically got to the point of like, fuck off, leave me alone. I know you're doing that, right? Because you do get to the point where you can differentiate doing it to yourself and something fucking with you. I'm just going to be blunt. And like, we've gotten to the point where like, if we think something's fucking with us, we'll literally, okay, leave me alone. I know you're doing something, stop it. Right. But what would you guys, I guess, start again with Kirsten, what would your advice be if somebody does believe they are truly being psychically attacked, or there's something in their ear telling them to do like shitty things?
Well, the first thing is that becoming aware of it takes away a lot of its power immediately. Once you're aware of it and you say, okay, that's not me, you've just taken away a great deal of that, whatever that is. You've taken away a great deal of its power, because once you recognize it, it can't really whisper in your ear anymore, because you're like, oh yeah, I know who you are. Piss off. But also, I would say, you know, making your field more cohesive is really, really helpful. And Kriya Yoga can do that. Regular yoga can do that. Meditation can do that. But Kriya is really good because it has some very specific techniques that you can do to clear your field and make your aura more cohesive. I would also suggest, you know, if you're being repeatedly psychically attacked, you might want to get somebody to help you if you're not able to fend that off completely. Because sometimes, you know, if you're not really well versed in using your energy, you might not be able to fend it off very well. But also, you know, I always say, I'm sending you back with love and light to wherever you're most comfortable and blessed, to your good place. I'm sending you away to your good place, which is not here with me, basically.
I like that.
Wherever you're most welcome, go there.
Sam, what would you add?
Sam has some good techniques for that.
I mean, the thing is, when you look at when you're being psychically attacked, depending on what kind of stuff's going on, this is something like Kirsten was saying, which is perfect, really. What you want to do is you want to just get your field to be more cohesive, because the more cohesive your field is, it becomes kind of impenetrable, almost. So you can begin to perceive things, but it's in the very outer edges of your auric field. And when things come in, there's an opening there. So actually, when you're being puppeted, we'll say, by an entity, and it's bringing wounding up. So the difference is, so you might have a negative thought. You might just be in a bad mood, going, "Oh God, today's awful. It's Monday. It's shit. Not making enough money. Blah 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 blah." But then the difference between that and when you're spiraling, it's like, "Oh God, I'm never going to get out of this. Oh, this," and then all the other stuff will come. You know, you'll start to feel like, when I was 21, like, I don't know, 12 years ago, a man said I looked like a horse, whatever, you know, and it just really random stuff will come up. And it's like, why you stop? You're like, oh my God. But because there's an emotional attachment there, it's the emotional charge. That's how they get you. And then you spiral. So it's being, like Kirsten was saying, being aware and being able to kind of watch your emotions. So I use a technique where if I'm feeling really, really emotional, I'll feel my emotion and I'll come into presence with it. So it's literally just saying, oh, that's the emotion. It's almost like you see it as a separate entity. It's not really part of you. And you become the observer. And I've put a physical barrier, but not a barrier, but like a space, like between a window pane. So the emotion's there, you're there, and then there's a vacuum in between. So it can't really get to you. So you're observing it, but it's not pulling your buttons. And it's the same what you were saying before, Don. When you can do that, you can just watch it, and it becomes a source of information, because that's the whole experience. Everything is just it's coded information. So it's all trying to tell you something. And when people say, "Oh, you create your own reality," "Oh, you're responsible for this," in a way, we are. It isn't kind of that cut and dry. What's happening is you've got codes within you. You've got certain codes that you're bringing through to pull into your reality. And even if there's something within you that you've healed, you can still put it in. You can just deal with it easier. You might pull somebody in that you're helping heal. So everything is teaching you something and giving you information. So when you start to look at things like that, especially things like psychic attacks, like, all right, why is this happening now? And it's going back to that personal responsibility. It's not saying, well, I deserve this. It's just saying, what is it trying to tell me? This is a source of information. What am I meant to get out of this? And that this is why, like, when it actually happens to you and the wounds come up, say thank you. Go, that's really great, thanks. I really needed to look at that. I didn't realise that was there. I love you. And I've said this to you before. And if they're really nasty, they don't like being told they love. If you just send them loads of love. And I know. They're like, oh, but it's compassionate when you do. It's compassionate rejection almost. But you're not in resistance to it. You're not pushing it out. You're just saying, you don't actually have any kind of power over it. It almost dissolves it, because you're meeting it with love, and it can't go anywhere with that. What can it do? It's come to feed, or it's come to be naughty, or to come to wind you up. It's always got an agenda, because that's why they never just come because they're just like, we didn't have nothing else to do. Just thought we'd come and like take this at you for a bit. Oh, but like going back to the telekinesis thing with you, Don, don't forget your emotions are very, very powerful. So when you're a powerful person and you have a lot of energy, if you're not learning to direct your energy and you're not in control of yourself, and you've got really strong, especially repressed emotions like anger, they can physically move things, or they can physically manifest things. And that's your own energy being projected out. So it's trying to control that, not in the like, oh, I must control anything. It's just saying, oh, I'm angry. Right, bring it back down. It works with back attack. It works with your own energy. Take a deep breath. Calm the system back down. You're not repressing the anger. You're creating a container, like I was saying before, where you can witness it and allow it to come out. And then you can do whatever you need to do with it, basically.
That makes the most sense of anything I've heard up until now. Like that's a very great explanation. And you did kind of touch on one of my favorite subjects, is how it all works. Now, with me, I have a very analytical mind. I've broken it down to this is a biomolecular construct that runs on frequency and vibration, and I'm actually just the voice in my own head. But I'd love to hear, like, Kirsten, what do you think the consciousness is? Do you think we can experience multiple versions of it? Well, you've already said that you saw you and Sam in another one. So, like, what do you think our consciousness is, and where do you think it comes from?
Oh my gosh, Con, I don't know.
I don't know, it just drops them out.
I think yeah, it's like, wow, that's huge. That's a huge question. I think that consciousness is really what everything is. I think that everything is actually manifest due to consciousness. I think that each of us has our own consciousness, which is multidimensional, and it's a lot of different things. But I think that consciousness has levels and layers, and I think that we are just in this particular form. We are, I feel like we're a divine spark of consciousness coming from a much larger consciousness, and I think ultimately that consciousness, the consciousness that we all descend to this planet from, or whatever, is really all of us together as one, and we're sort of individuated pieces of it. But I don't I don't
It's
pretend
a
to
huge
understand
question.
it
It
from
really
the
is. It's a huge.
It's like, what is the
It's
meaning
like
of life? I
The
don't
ages,
know.
isn't it? That's the thing. The question of the ages.
Yeah, it's like, tell me what
Yeah.
purple is. Well, it's purple, right?
It's
Oh,
pretty, and I like it.
Yeah, I like being moved. I like the voice in my head that I am. That's the best I can do.
What really
Yeah.
baiting noggin is when you realise the voice isn't actually consciousness. Yeah. We've got lots of different voices in our heads, and the different layers of who we are.
Oh,
Or not. Oh, not as the case may be.
yeah. Oh,
We're like
absolutely.
we are
Right.
the observer of the person thinking they're having the experience, because you realise there's somebody talking and then there's somebody watching who's somebody's so we're the watcher.
That makes sense. And it's funny because I was asking Kyla about this, is like, I do spend a lot of my time in the observer mindset. And then sometimes I'll have like this like slam of like a sudden realization, like, holy crap, I'm still here. Like I really do separate from myself sometimes, and it's just like I'm going through life watching myself do all this stuff, and then I get slammed back into, oh shit, it's actually me, right? It's a very, when you reach that frame of mind where you can separate the two, it makes life interesting, I'll say that.
Well, yeah, it's like when you're having a thought, I'm having a conversation now and I'm saying these words, but is it me that's saying them, or is there somebody behind? Because when you feel your consciousness isn't here, it's out here somewhere at the back of you. It's like, do you know what I mean? You're coming in when you feel into it. You're not. It's really hard to describe it, but do you know what I mean? When you feel it, not everybody's felt it, but we get to the point where, oh yeah, I'm not here in my eyes. I'm here,
Yeah.
and then you start to expand out and you can like go backwards. But yeah, I think consciousness, it's like, again, don't know this for sure. This is just my own personal kind of gnosis, we'll say, that I'm still building on. But it's like a pinprick. It's a laser pinprick of information that's coming in. That's just one little bit of it. Like Kirsten was saying, it's part of a larger thing, but everything has consciousness. And there's layers of consciousness. So we've got a collective consciousness, which we're all dipping into. For instance, it's a human collective. There's a consciousness of the rocks. There's the consciousness of the fish, the sea, the fire, because they've all got spirit. And then within that, there's the individuation, which is the pinpoint of awareness as you come down into this physical manifestation. It's like the separation, isn't it? Because this is why we're in duality. We're having an experience against other things to know ourselves. Because it's all when you so I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but it'll make sense, I promise. So when I started doing the Course in Miracles, I had this thing where I had this big massive download, and it was like I was doing the school run of all things, which is what I normally do, and I'm driving to school, and all this information comes in, and I'm like, ah. So this one particular day, I had a proper mind melt. I've been doing the Course in Miracles, taking some mushrooms over the weekend. I had this massive, like, expanded awareness of consciousness. Something had clicked, and then all of a sudden, I downloaded what reality was. I can't fully remember it because I was, you know what it's like when you're in those expanded states. It's like, oh, this is amazing, and you really, really, really get it for that 4 hours or 12 hours or 2 weeks or whatever that you're in it. And then when you get out of it, it kind of like fades. Like you kind of know what it was, but you can't quite grasp it. But essentially, I understood that everything was love. I knew it anyway on an intellectual level, but then I knew that everything was love. And that's kind of what consciousness is as well, because it's God. God is love. I'm saying God, source. Everything is made of love. And when this is kind of what this hologram is. So it's like God's here, and then it splits out into all the different frequencies of what love can be, and it's projected out, and then it's knowing what it is, what one aspect of love, Kirsten, for instance, is against another, me or you, or the table, because the table's made of love, bottle's made of love, your ceiling's made of love, and we're all having this this contrasted experience. And when you get to that point, you realise that actually, I mean, it does matter because we're having the experience to learn, but it doesn't. I was maniacally laughing. I was driving home going, and I knew. I got home and looked at the washing up that had been stressing me out. And I just pissed myself at it. And I'm like, I can't believe I got really angry over the washing up. You know, it was bizarre. But I knew, and I still know, obviously not to the same extent where I'm laughing at my washing up because, you know, whatever. We all get pulled back into it, don't we? But that's what consciousness is. Consciousness is coming to have this experience, to be in contrast against another individuated pinprick laser beam of focus to know yourselves better. This is why we have strife. This is why we have paedophiles. And you can hate me for saying that, but I'm not saying I agree with it, and I'm not saying, you know what I mean. But on some level, it's all made of love. It's all to show us varying degrees of what consciousness is, basically. Does that make sense?
It really does. And something you and I have talked about, I want to get into this this stream of information, like the direct one, because you channel, and I've experienced some things, and I don't know if you and I talked about this, but I refer to like the voice that is Dawn for the most part as the pilot. Like, I understand this is my biological vessel and we have an agreement, and I'm here experiencing my reality through this vessel, and it's a stream of information coming from somewhere else. Totally get that. But there are the odd times where that pilot gets backseated and other information comes through. And I've literally sat during my own show and listened to myself talk and just been like, holy fuck, I sound really smart right now. And I know it's not the human version that's had this experience that has this information, at least not this go around, because I'll talk about stuff that I know I don't know, right? And just know that I'm right. And it's weird to just listen to yourself sometimes, because I've actually experienced that as well, where like my human is just talking and I'm just kind of listening.
Yeah, because it's non-local. I mean, Kirsten's a channel. She's a better channel than me. She's been doing it for years, hasn't you, Kirsten? Mine just kind of happens spontaneously. But that's the thing. I mean, I'm going to let you talk in a minute because you've got this to say on that. But when you talk about this other aspect coming in, it's still you, or it might not be you. Sometimes it's not. But they're all just different. They're just different flavors of consciousness. And when you say you know things but you don't know, well, you do, because all the information's already there in the field. It's not local, isn't it? All you're doing is expanding your awareness. So if you think of it like a funnel, yeah, where the information comes in, big funnel like that, and it goes down the thing and it comes down as a little stream. That's what consciousness is. It's coming in like that. And the bigger you make your funnel, the more information you're able to capture. Now, the thing is with channeling, what you're doing is, because we're coming through the veil of forgetting, there's kind of a cap on us, isn't there? We're all channeling all the time. But when you become consciously aware of it, you can open yourself up with deliberately, and then you can allow more information to come through. And what that will do, it's like we've talked about this before, you're in the back seat.
Mm-hmm.
It's letting go of the control and allowing the higher mind to take over.
Yeah, that's basically, and I've made an agreement. Like I've said, the first time it actually happened was with Frank Castle. He got a hold of me the day after we did a show, and he was like, "Bro, what did we talk about last night?" And I'm like, "I am so glad you said that, because I have no idea." Right? Both of us, our hires or the channels crossed, and like the ones that were Dawn and Frank just kind of sat back, and like those two channels just spoke to each other for 2 hours. And it was like, that was the first time I really had that backseat experience where I was just listening. So it's something that I'm fairly new to. And Kirsten, I'd love to hear like what it's like when you experience it, because like I know what it feels like for me. Like, do you have the ability to come in and out of it? Like, are you able to control it? Can you tap into it? Like, how do you deal with it?
Yes, I can tap into it. Well, I'm a writer, and I first started channeling many years ago. I didn't know I was channeling. I just, I would start writing and things come through. And I really think that most people who are creative and do arts are channels of a sort, because what they're doing is they're tapping into that creative force that just exists, and it comes through, and you let it come through. And I can do it at will, but because I've practiced it a lot. But I basically just say, okay, I'm here. I'm going to take a step back. Come to me now. And I feel this whoosh of energy. I mean, I can actually feel it right now. It comes in through my shoulder blades and the back of my head. It just comes right through. And I have to, and it's hard sometimes. Sometimes I can't quite step back far enough. And I've even had the beings I was channeling say to me, well, we were trying to tell you this, but you're not able to, because the thing is, when you channel, if you can't grasp something consciously, it's really hard to let that come through, because it's confusion. You're like, wait, what? And so it's being able to step back and really surrender and just let it come through. And so, and it's just practice like anything else. You just have to say, okay. And I used to channel every single day just as practice. In 2020, when I was at home not doing anything, I was like, okay, I'm going to start just channeling. And so I had seen this channel, and it said something like, it was the Arcturians, and they said, some of you who are reading this channel are also channels, and if you would like to channel us, then ask us if it's appropriate. And so the next time I sat down to write, I said, okay, Arcturians, am I an appropriate channel for you? And the response that I started writing, and the response that I got was, you've been channeling us for a long, long time. And I was like, oh, I didn't know, just because it's not. So I think that it was because I was a writer, and because when you're a writer, again, you're tapping into that creative energy and you're bringing it through. You're channeling that already. And so I think most people who do art and write and things are proficient channelers, whether they're aware of it or not. And musicians too. I've seen a lot of musicians who are channeling. You know, they just close their eyes and suddenly they can play something, and it's like, you know, so I think artists are more inclined to be able to channel. And not that other people can't, not that people who aren't artists can't channel, because I'm sure that happens too. But it's being open to that and allowing it and learning to step back and surrender and just letting it come through. And many people are so, you know, they just clutch onto that control. I must control everything. And the more that you're in that place, the less that you're able to really let that come through. So what I would say first and foremost is just releasing that need to control. And so I think for me, it was very helpful to channel by myself for a long time, because I wasn't worried about what anybody else thought about it. And so I think it's letting go of that fear. I'm going to look weird. I'm going to say something weird. It's not going to make sense. All of that, which is the same thing you have to do if you want to really create good art, you know, is letting go of worrying about what's going to come through and how it's going to look to somebody else, and just saying, okay, I surrender, let it here, bring it. What is it?
I like that. And I wrote down automatic writing. I definitely think that's something people that are developing their channel should practice, is just letting thought flow. And one of the things I should really be doing, because I've thought about it over and over again, is writing as soon as you wake up. Because I don't know what the biological explanation is, but we seem to forget what we did for 8 hours within 5 minutes of waking up. And I really would like to start to remember some of those experiences. Oh, hello, kitty. I don't know where mine is. Who has ADD? But no, I really would like to start that automatic writing, because I think it is good practice to develop the channeling ability as well. I think that's really good and valuable.
It is. I do morning pages every day. Like I literally roll over when I wake up and write 3 pages, and I don't control it. So that is an excellent practice. And that's actually was in Julia Cameron's book, The Artist's Way. I found that in there. And so it does, you know, again, and being able to bring that creativity through. And that's a really good practice. I'm glad you mentioned that, Dawn, because I would recommend that to anyone, even if you just want to make a painting or something. That starting your day that way is really, really helpful.
Well, I actually just watched something that says you shouldn't have screen time for the first hour you're awake and silence for the first half hour, I think they said it was. Of course, if you have a partner, you can't just be like, shut up, I just woke up, right? You have to talk to each other in the morning. But like, there's we've been programmed into doing things that disconnect us. And the more we discover that these things are disconnecting us from the abilities and connection to source and earth and all of these things, it really, you can see where it's happened, and you can also very easily often see how to correct it, right? Like I've been going through a lot of food changes, as you guys know, and like I'm starting to get my appetite back because my teeth got fixed. And I was driving yesterday and everything I wanted was poison. And I'm like, I'm hungry. My body's like, I'm hungry. My mind's like, okay, what do you want? And it's like, Doritos. I'm like, that's poison. No. I want that. No. Like everything my brain tried to ask me to get, I eventually stopped at a grocery store and bought real food. But like it wanted me to stop at a 7-Eleven and grab something crappy and just stick it in my face. And I'm like, no, I don't want to eat that, right? Because it clouds you, it clogs you, it's addictive. And it was just this weird thing. Like you can see where they've done all of this to us, right? Like, how did I all of a sudden realize that there's no natural reason why my body would crave Cool Ranch, right? It's like, it was just part of it. Like, you know, I ate Cool Ranch Doritos since the time they came out. It was just something I ate. And now I realized it's like, those are terrible for me. Why would I want those? Right?
Addiction.
It really is. Like, humans
Yeah.
don't have cravings to food like that because they're unnatural. It's an addiction. They've given you a chemical to get addicted to. That's the craving.
Exactly. And also, it's a parasite,
Yes.
maybe as well. Because you normally find that. And the parasite doesn't have to be a worm, it could be candida, because that wants certain stuff, or, you know, different funguses or whatever, or an astral parasite if we're really going to go into it. But yeah, it's not as cut and dry as like, I'm making really shit decisions. It's just, you get addicted to things because there's shit there that you need to look at, basically. When you look at the root nature, people that have got really addictive personalities have got the trauma, and when you start to unpick the trauma, you tend to find when people do the healing, the addictions go. Because when you're say if you're trying to stop smoking, they give you nicotine patches, or you do something else to try and form a different habit, but you're essentially replacing one with another. But when you start to heal the addiction, like for instance, there are people that have got addiction to alcohol. It's like the spirit of the alcohol, you know, wants to get a wedge in, and it can only get in there because there's a hole. And it's like you've had a bit of soul loss, so there's this base. So what the human wants to do is, it's like, I've got this bit of soul loss, I need to fill it back in. So sugar, drugs, whatever, because one, you're checking out and you're numbing out, so you don't have to feel the pain of being in soul loss. Not that we consciously know that, but that's what it is. And two, we want to fill it up, but there's never enough sugar, there's never enough heroin, there's never enough alcohol to ever fill the wounds that the piece of soul that's left has left behind, because it's not what belongs there. It's not the resonance of it. And that's why when you do things like shamanic journeying, you will go back and you will retrieve the soul, you will bring it back to the body, but you also have, it's not a case of that, you have to make the body safe for it to come home, which is where the healing comes in. So you sit with your shit, you sit with the trauma, you sit with your behaviors, you sit with the ways that you're giving yourself away, or abdicating your sovereignty, or we're losing bits all the time. When something traumatic happens, we could get cut up in traffic and then think we're going to die and go, ah! And then it's coming back. You know what I mean? It can go and come back, but then we have the really big ones, the really big core wounds that happen, that we really have to sit with. And it isn't even just like soul loss from this lifetime. When you start to do it, you journey back through different lifetimes, because you're one whole soul complex. Like I said, we're not linear. We're one big, you know. So you start to bring all these pieces back, and when you start to do that, then you're not addicted anymore. And that's why it's it doesn't happen overnight, obviously. But you don't crave the heroin, or you don't crave the alcohol, or you don't crave the cream buns or whatever you want, because you're whole, you're enough.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, I will be completely honest with, when I quit smoking, I had to trick myself biologically in it. This was another way, is I changed the program, because we do know a lot of these addictions, you know, the traumas, then you're handed the addiction, and that's part of the program because now you're stuck on their stuff. One of them was cigarettes, on and off for like 30 something years. And how I finally quit is I changed the program. I made the idea of a nicotine fit, a Nick fit, so repulsive to myself biologically that now if I even think of having a cigarette, it makes me want to gag. Because what I did was, for the next 2 weeks after I decided I was done, is I would take a Hall's cough drop and then immediately eat candied ginger after I had gotten the menthol taste in my mouth, which is worse than drinking orange juice after brushing your teeth by about 1,000, right? So like every time I wanted a cigarette, cough drop, ginger, blah, cough drop, ginger, blah. And within 2 weeks, I can't stand the smell of cigarette. I have nothing against anybody who makes their own choices. I'm not here to shit on anybody. You have to do what you got to do to get through this with your mental state intact. for me, smoking didn't work anymore. And that's how I changed. It was just on a biological level. I changed that program that was instilled in me when I was like 12.
You'd already outgrown it though, hadn't you? That's the thing. Because
Yeah,
you've got to the point where you could do that. You do it but that's great because it is. I mean, you've basically conditioned yourself through like some sort of like torture.
Well, these things are wonderfully programmable if you figure out how they do it. Like if you figure out how they fuck with us, you can do it to yourself much more gently, right? You can reprogram yourself just the way they've programmed you, and it works the same way. You just have to have the same commitment to getting you to do what you want that they do, right? I know we've been going almost 90 minutes already, and I know it's like super late for you, Sam, and thank you so much for being up with us. I have had sessions, a shamanic journey that you did, and I've also had an energy healing session. I want you to walk everybody through what a shamanic healing, and then we'll get Kirsten to explain what the energy healing session looks like and how you two ended up going from podcast to energetic duo as well. Like you guys now work together on healings, which is just amazing.
I think we were always meant to do the healing because even when we did the podcast, like I've said before, our very presence is healing done. No, we get people on the show and they go, "Hi, it's really great. I felt so relaxed. It was great talking to you. I just feel so good afterwards." And it's just like, you had a great healing there. Just because it's frequency and presence, isn't it? And don't forget, there's higher selves and stuff doing whatever they're doing, and we're like the avatars that are like floating around like little puppets and not really puppets, but you know, we're floating through this world, and then there's the people with a higher agenda that's connected to us, like the bigger us, going, right, just going to do this, just going to do this. This is what's going to go through here. This is, you know, we're all being maneuvered, aren't we? But yeah, the shamanic stuff. I mean, it's so big and vast, and like I said, I'm learning. So it's pretty much there's a look to it. The fundamental principle is everything is consciousness, everything has got a spirit, and everything is made of energy and information. So what you're doing is when you're healing somebody shamanically, there's lots of different ways to do it, but you're finding the right tool for the job which you will eventually learn as you go along and you practice. So for instance, you could do fire sipping, which is what you can like literally. So if you look at a flame, you can feel into the consciousness of fire, and you pinch it, not the actual flame there because that'll burn you. You see the spirit of the fire, and you'll see a flame there, and you look at and you connect with the consciousness because it's a living being. It's wild, you can't control it, and you say, obviously, you ask its permission and whatnot, and then you pinch it, go, and you breathe it in. So if you've got a blockage somewhere, for instance, you breathe it in and you actually feel it. It goes. You can feel the spirit of the fire going down your nose. Say you wanted to breathe it into your heart and expand your heart. You'll feel it. Breathe it in, hold it, and it'll expand your heart out. And so if you've got an illness and you're wanting to bring the information, because it's got its own consciousness, this is what we're working with, of the spirit of the fire into the blockage or whatever that you've got, you'll do that, and with your breath you will direct it to wherever you've got this blockage, and you'll do it a few times and then you will let it expand out and do what it's going to do. But because it's got its own intelligence and its own agenda, you can't control this necessarily. You can, but you can't. But the intelligence of the spirit of the fire will do what it's going to do. So that's just one aspect of it. Or you could do journeying, where you go inside, because obviously we've talked about this. The keys to the universe are in us, and that's quite that isn't like we're not joking when we say everything around us is in us. We have the whole universe inside us, and it's just the information that we hold within our biofield. So when you go inside of yourself, you can access anywhere. You can go anywhere. You've got this biological computer that literally is a key to anywhere in the universe. You know, it's key to your own healing. It's key to high dimensions. It's just learning how to use it and access those frequencies essentially. So yeah.
I love that, and I want to definitely have another session with you because, like we said, I'm supposed to keep you up to date. And since we've done that, I've been having less and less abdominal pain. I know everything else is changing as well, but I want to tell you that since you did the shamanic journey on me, it did actually change the amount of physical pain I've been in. So I can attest to it. And that's just what I have to say. And that also applies to the energetic session that you two gifted me as well, when I was having a lot of those issues. And that was one of those feelings. And I actually totally understand what you were saying about the podcast, because I've had similar conversations where when you're done, most of the time I'll be 100% honest. I go and lay down because it's just like, it's like a huge dopamine smash all at once. And I've had people say the same thing. It's like, that was like therapy. And it's like, I think it's supposed to be like, and I'm not shitting on the way anybody else ever does their podcast. And I try not to have an ego about this, but I take that as a really big compliment, because I've seen and watched other people's shows and it's just like, okay, yeah, great show, you're done. But like when you actually get that, something was accomplished, I think that's the point of why we're supposed to be having these conversations. Right. And that was the feeling I got when I had the energy session with you two. And unfortunately, I wrote a bunch of stuff in a book that I no longer can find right after, because it was all channeled information. Because I like, I gotta write this up. Like you guys were literally still talking. I'm like, yeah. And now it's all gone because I don't know where I put it. But
it wasn't meant to be today, was it? Gone. So
no, maybe it'll come up on the 24th, because I'm back on your guys' show, and I know we're going to talk about some interesting stuff on January 24th. But Kirsten, can you tell everybody before we take off here what an energy healing session with you guys looks like, and what somebody could expect if they were to book one or approach you guys about one?
Okay, well, so actually, Sam and I have just recently started on this. Although, like she said, we were meant to do this. Even when we do our podcast, it is, in a sense, an energy session. So the thing about energy healing is that what I find when I do it on my own, and when Sam and I do it even so far, is that it's always a little bit different depending on.
I don't know what just happened there. I hit a button. I apologize.
It's all right.
Something on the screen.
Okay. Don't worry about it, John. It just makes it all the more interesting.
Sorry, Kirsten, please carry on. I don't know what I just did there.
That was really interesting. No, like that, but it's also a bit different. But what we do is we go in and first we feel into it, because one of the things about energy healing is that you have to make sure that sometimes the person isn't ready for, like, say, a full blast of angel fire. And you really have to feel into it and see, because it's different with every person, and what every person is ready for is always going to be different. And there's also, you go in, and so you feel into it, and we feel, and usually Sam and I will talk about it beforehand, and we'll kind of get like a little protocol, like, okay, I'm going to hold the space and you go in here and do this. So what we do is we hold space for the person first and foremost. And then we go in and we see, where are there blockages in the chakras, for instance, where is this trauma sitting? One of the things that I tend to do with my energy healing is I tend to be able to cry for other people. And so, say you're holding a lot of trauma, I may start crying, and I don't want to freak people out about it, because it's just like it, and it doesn't bother me, because I don't mind crying for people. It doesn't feel bad to me. But so, I may start crying, and meanwhile, Sam is pulling out some kind of entity off the top of their head. And then and I'm also really good at finding matrix implants in people's energy fields. So I may come in and say, well, they've got an implant in the back of their head. It's a little egg-shaped thing, and it's telling them they want to be suicidal or something. And we're just going to yank that out of there. So we kind of go in at, we each have different strengths and different talents with it. So when both of us are doing it, we're addressing different things, and we're also holding, like, connecting the energy around the person so that we're fully surrounding them with that healing space and that healing energy, and holding space for them while we do this. And so, you know, and all sorts of things come up, and so it's really, and it really varies, you know, it's going to always be a little bit different with every person, because every person needs something different. And the great thing about energy work is that you can really go in and feel that, and feel what that particular person needs, and bring that, rather than a one size all sort of thing, that one size fits all sort of thing. It's much more attuned and adjusted to the person that you're working with.
Yeah, it's individual, isn't it? And that's the thing. Like, you never know it's going to come through. So
Yeah.
like sometimes we might spontaneously have a bit of light language or whatever, because we just, like, going back, we channels. So we don't just channel information, we channel energy, we channel healing. That's just how it is, isn't it?
Well,
It
and
is.
yeah, and as somebody who experienced one of your sessions, I can say, like, it does feel very individualized, and like it kind of felt like the three of us were walking through my field, is the only way I can explain it. Like, it's one of those things you can't explain, but I'm going to try to. It felt like we were walking through everything that was Dawn's experience here, and just kind of going through and sorting what needed sorted and pushing things out of the way. It was definitely a very cleansing experience, is what I can say. Like, I felt great after. And yes, Kirsten even cried for me, because I do have a lot of trauma in my life that I do tend to just kind of put at the bottom underneath my feet, because I don't really need it. And there's some ugly shit in there, and Kirsten got to see one of them, and it's not fun in there sometimes. And, you know, you actually helped me put him in the closet, and, you know, that went there. Like, that thing you saw, I know exactly what that was. And it was a thing I used to use to protect me a lot. And I put him in the closet after. I was like, oh yeah, you don't even need to be here anymore. So he's there, and, you know, he just stays there. But no, like, it was literally like a self-exploration, and the visualization of what was going on in myself during the experience is something I can't explain. So
Amazing, thank you.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I wanted to say about my session with you guys, is because it really was amazing. Like, I am one of those people that have a very visual mind, and when we were going through and you said what you saw, I was like, oh, I know what that is, and I even know what it looks like. And then as you guys were going through and filtering stuff, it really, I was with you guys in my own field.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you
It
for
is.
sharing that. That's lovely feedback.
Yes,
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Aside from on X, is there anywhere else people can get a hold of you? Or, well, I was in a rush this week, and I will put your YouTube channel in the description after the show, because I brain farted and didn't. Where can everybody get a hold of you guys, though?
Either on X, I'm at Wander Awake, and we also have a Metaphysical Phat podcast thing on X. You can also get a hold of us through our YouTube channel. There's an email address on our YouTube channel that you can use to get a hold of us if you want to. So those are the best ways. Really, X is probably the most, probably the best way to get a hold of us. And Sam, go ahead and tell them your X.
All right, yeah, mine's just the Manta Quantity. And my handle is at arts_fantastic. Just, I've had it a long time.
and you can expect fart and vagina jokes.
I'm totally unfiltered. Yeah, don't come in here thinking that I'm like normal. It's like, yeah, it's a real toilet spatter of literal shit sometimes that I talk
Hey,
about.
that's
Yeah,
my job. That's my job.
Well,
that's why we get on. That's
you
why
know,
I'm the lady boot and boobed done.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
she'll post this really like brilliant stuff, like the metaphysical little thing, and then underneath it, something completely, you know, a fart joke or a vagina joke or something
But
she wants to lick. You know, it's
Oh yeah, I do like to talk about licking stuff. Though it's a bit of a. I think if Freud had met me, he'd be like, "Sam, you've got oral fixation." I'd be like, "Yes, I fucking have."
Yeah. And that again, like I swear we're related in some non-physical way because you and I, personality-wise, are very, very similar, which makes it absolutely funny as hell. But
Do you like
like
to lick stuff as well, Don? Are you a bit of a licker?
I did have a lollipop fetish as a kid. I can't lie. You know, that and bells. I always had to ring bells, and I've actually gotten over that. I was about 42 when the incessant need to ring a bell every time I saw it. It's finally I've grown up a little bit.
You
So
can stop. You can control the compulsion.
yeah, I don't have to have a lollipop every time I go to the grocery store, and I don't need to ring the bell. So I'm getting better. Like, it's an improvement.
Absolutely. A star.
Yeah.
good job.
Aside from that, I want to thank everybody that joined in the chat. And Phil, I'm sorry we did start early. Sam it is 1:30 in the morning for her right now. By all means, please go back and watch this again. I want to thank everybody that participated. I want to thank you two for coming on and sharing information and your wonderful talents and abilities. And Sam, again, thank you for staying up till like 1:30, 1:40 in the morning, whatever nonsense it is there right now. That I appreciate you so much for sitting up with us for this. And like I always say, if you can, please go outside because it's a lot better than sitting in front of the screen. I love you guys.